Alright, so we have our spare frame out here. And obviously we'll be sandblasting around the damaged areas, which is here, which rusted out, and where that's all broken down there. I've got the last thing to take off here, which was the bin tag. I forgot, I just pulled those rivets out real quick. Now it's going to be time to sandblast this so it can be prepped for welding, and then I'll cut a piece of this steel here after I sandblast it, and that will get welded on. Alright guys, so we have quite the update on this project. After the sandblasting that you saw, I decided to paint this black in here, since I'll be fitting a plate to it. So I painted that with just some simple Rust-Oleum spray paint. And then before I had it coated with oil so it wouldn't rust up, so I used mineral spirits to clean that off. Now here I have the piece that's going to be going in. It's an 1/8 inch piece of steel that I cut with a circular saw. I have here a sander that I'm using on the air compressor to clean all the rust off. I'm going to clean both sides. One side will be painted black like in there, and then they will be attached together, and the other side will be primed and will be eventually painted with the color that I paint the rest of the snowmobile with. Now I was debating whether I would do welding or would be doing riveting or bolting. I think the option that makes the most sense actually might end up being riveting, because it's going to fit hopefully underneath those hand holders in the back. There's going to be a bracket that goes in this area here where those screws are. They're going to have to get drilled out from the top through this plate behind me, and then in the front I'll be able to stick a couple rivets in there, a couple rivets maybe in the edges. I'll have that plate there, and then it'll be held under in the back and riveted. The seat and the gas tank are going to be on here, and there's going to be space probably for the rivet heads to be. I'm also planning on probably putting a plate either on top of all this or on the inside to cover up most of this nastiness. Of course, this wouldn't be covered up on the inside because this is the cross member here, so I might even do both to make it stronger. And most likely with that would be riveted as well, other than welding, since this stuff is so thin, it's not really easy to weld, and I'm not a good welder, so I'd definitely burn a lot of holes through it. Could be a learning experience, but I might end up doing both welding and riveting, especially for this centerpiece here, but that's to be determined. Anyway, I gotta continue sanding this down so that it's ready to be entered into the snowmobile. Well, that plate has been all cleaned up. You can see I got a nice coat of black paint all over it, and I have that nice coat that I showed you before in here. So now I just got to wait for this all to dry, and I can put it back together. Alright, so quick little update. Drilled 1/4 inch holes through this steel plate, through where the original bolts went through, and bolted this plate here back on, just temporarily, just to see if it'll work. So this plate should be good. I just got to drill some more holes for rivets and bolts if I want to do it that way, or if I want to weld it. I haven't 100% decided yet. Another quick update for you. We put 3 rivets in front and 3 rivets closer to the back. This last back area will kind of sit on these here, and then there's a plate that comes down this angle. It's right here. It fits in. There's a couple rivet holes here, and then it sits against this, so that'll help hold back. Just put these for extra support. I think for all those should hopefully hold this thing in place good. This one might need to get redone because it pulled in a little too far. Yeah. In the front, I don't know if I can show you from underneath. These went into the metal here to help for extra strength. So yeah, I got to continue working on this piece here. I got the piece of metal ready to go to get bent to shape and cut to shape. It should be a little thinner than this stuff, so hopefully a little easier to work with in this little space. All right, so here is our plate. I just painted it again. It's I had to cut here to kind of overlap the edges so that it fit better. Got these holes drilled already so I could hold it in place while I was working it to shape. And over here we have, I'm just gonna go, see those holes again. And yeah, it's gonna basically cover this whole area. I got it painted black so that it doesn't end up rusting up in between the 2 layers too bad. And I went to here, even though I'll probably prime over all this later. So yeah, that basically is all set to go. I just gotta let the paint finish curing, and then put that on and get it riveted in place to the frame here. And there's a cross member, so I can go across here, and I can go across here to get both sides of the cross member for ultimate structural integrity. And then I can do a couple other ones just to hold the plate on a little better, make sure everything stays where it should. Well, as you guys can see, the plate has been placed. I put a bunch of rivets in, might add a couple more here and there. I had to catch the back bracket here, and then there's the cross member, so I put it here, and then on the other side, which is right here. So they're not, the facing isn't perfect, so that's because just where the internals were and where I had to kind of work around. And then I stuck one in the front and one on either corner here. I don't know if I'm gonna bother with stuff in the center or not. I could, but because I can catch the cross member in the middle on this side, not as much on this side though, because there's a gap there where I guess dirt and stuff can escape and water. But I'm thinking about putting a weld here. I'm not 100% yet, but most likely will. But anyway, I can actually start working on some other stuff on this snowmobile now. As you can see, I mess around here using a wire brush. I think the bottom I can get away with just wire brushing all this rust off. I already wire brushed this plate in here and it's not terrible. Obviously there's spots where the metal is still damaged, and that will have to be filled with some body filler most likely. Have to get filled on both sides. Actually, this might be underneath a support beam here that goes in the side, which I don't think I quite caught with this, but that's not a big deal since I have the cross member. But anyway, yeah, I'll fill this stuff in. I'll wire brush all this down and then prime it. The other side I'm most likely going to do a lot more with sandblasting, but I think for the bottom I don't have to waste my time with doing that. Alright, so as y'all can see, I laid a really nasty weld down. As I may have mentioned, I am terrible at welding, so I know everyone's gonna make fun of me probably for it, but I grinded it down a bit so it wouldn't look quite as bad. And I always get worried with this stuff because I've burned right through this thin of metal before, but luckily I didn't burn through. I'm gonna try to fill it in with some body filler maybe and make it not look as bad when I go to paint it. But anyway, I'm just gonna finish up the sandblasting now. So I got to, I'm gonna go over the tunnel a little bit, maybe a little inside. And on this part here, this I'm not gonna worry about too much with sandblasting, just wire brushing down like I did before. And yeah, it should hopefully not take that long, and then I can move on to primer. know I should have been recording this, but I wanted to beat the rain and want to set up all my filming equipment. This is the Snowmobile all primed. Just some more Rust-Oleum primer. So I need to show you. Some of this stuff in a hardware store, and just went crazy over the whole body. So that means both sides of the body have been done. Now I just have to do some touch-up, looking where the body's the roughest and trying to repair it. Way, like with the pitting and stuff like that, and also patching just a couple holes, one there, and maybe that one there. I'll just play around with those a little bit, maybe put some JB Weld or Bondo in them, and then maybe just try to smooth out a little bit more on the tunnel. I don't know if I'm going to do too much, because obviously you can see it's very pitted. This side looks pretty nice at least. And obviously it doesn't matter what it looks like up here because that's going to get covered up. Well, I probably should try to get that carpet out first. This is also a little pitted, which is unfortunate. Hopefully I can get that out. I see a spot I missed already in that corner. So I have a whole extra can so I can make sure that any spots I touch up or I see that I missed, I can go over again. Yeah, overall I think it looks not bad. Now it's all primed up, and it's got its patches and stuff. Well, you can't really see any of the patches from the top. Just maybe this one down here, which isn't terrible. Obviously my terrible weld. I might try to fill that in with a little JB Weld or Bondo as well. Alright. Let's touch up a little bit and show you what I saw. The body was all primed up nice. Now I'm testing the paint a little bit on the bottom. I did the inside of the tunnel. Not sure if I'm content or not. You gotta see what it looks like when it dries. You can definitely, like, it's transparent paint. You can see any slight gaps in the primer, which I'm not very happy about exactly because I know there's some nasty spots in here and there. Obviously all the pitting because I didn't bother trying to fill it in or anything. I did, however, just prime over the weld here that I made. I put some JB Weld on it. It still doesn't look great, but I'm not gonna mess with it too much more. And then in here, it's hard to see. There was a hole in the middle here that's patched, and hard to see as well. But up here, there were also some holes that got patched. It wasn't this. I don't know why there's a nub here. Should probably try to knock that in. There's also that other hole that I left, but that's not very visible. So hopefully it won't be seen in the final product. But yeah, I'm not really sure whether I should be coating this in a silver anywhere or just paint right with the blue because it is transparent. I mean, it does obviously still have a very metallic finish on it, but as you can see the primer underneath, I don't know if I'm happy with it or not. Guys, so this is the end of the video that I captured of the painting process. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and you'll see the snowmobile all painted up in the next video. See you in the next one. See you later.